Perfect. Hey, Jillian, thanks for coming on.
Robbie, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to doing this for a long time because I think that you have such a, hey, buddy. Well, I guess first and foremost, you staying safe with everything that's going on right now?
Yes, yep, we are social distancing well and finding plenty of time to be outside and finding ways to enjoy ourselves and reinvent ourselves.
Well, that's good. You've been getting a lot of yoga in?
I'm not a big yogi. I should do more,
Okay.
but a lot of body movement, a lot of functional.
Because when I see you on Instagram, you're definitely doing a bunch of functional stuff like that and everything else. So it's fun.
I focus on functional training and I slack with the stretching. I should be better.
Well, maybe during this time you could do a few classes or something like that, because I know my fiance is trying to get me to do some more yoga while I've been stuck in self-quarantine. So I think that would probably be good for me a little bit more flexible, probably wouldn't hurt anything.
Mobile hips, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think a lot of people know, but for me, like growing up and as I was coming up in this sport, and you had such a dedicated and decorated career as a skier, also as a cyclist as well, and it's really was inspiring for me to see your work ethic. You were just such a dedicated hard worker. I mean, it always seemed that you outworked everyone, and it made such a really long, amazing career for you. I mean, you went to 7 world championships. You were a 2-time Olympian on the ski team for over a decade, multiple podiums on World Cups. I mean, just such an amazing career. And I really just kind of want to get down to what drove you, wherever you want to start, but I'd love to hear it.
My mom says that I came into the world running, right? And I have to say, I don't see myself, of course I had some baseline talent. You have to find the sport that best suits you. But I just always had that drive, that fire, that wanting to get better, to improve on myself. And for skiing, I think what really drove me was that pursuit of excellence for self. I think there are a couple different ways that you can go into competitive sport. One is, here I am, turn on the lights, I'm ready. For me, it was, oh my dear God, the lights are coming on. You're okay, just do what you love. So I was out there for that pursuit, for the betterment of self.
Awesome. So how'd you find your way in skiing?
We moved to a little ski town in Western New York called Holiday Valley. The town is called Ellicville, New York, but the resort was Holiday Valley. And I started skiing at the late age, I guess, in our sport of 10. And with the East Coast moguls or the East Coast slopes, it's that blue ice. And my parents they'd drop my sister and I off at 9 in the morning and pick us up at 10:30 at night. We'd have $1 between the two of us and would just drink ketchup during the day. But we just started skiing. It was fun. I mean, it got us out of the house. We're outdoor people, especially me. I'm happiest when I'm outside. And so, and on that blue ice, what led to mogul skiing, that was the only thing that could really slow you down.
Yeah.
And every run is different, right? There's no perfect mogul run. Well, yeah. Unless you're Kingsbury.
Well, unless you're Kingsbury, exactly. At least it seems that way. So you end up making the ski team, and that work ethic that's kind of built in, you had to battle a few injuries a little bit earlier in your career as well, right?
Throughout my career, actually, I had 7 knee surgeries. I had 2 broken sternums. One was from a car accident, but the other one was from landing on my head with my first backflip. And then broken hand, broken foot. I don't know how many times I've hit my head. These are not badges of honor. These are just back to the drawing board with each.
So you get those. I'm sorry?
I was just going to say that with one of my knee surgeries, I had a man come up to me and he was red in the face and he was trembling. He was angry at me and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm rehabbing my knee." And he goes, "What are you thinking? Why are you doing this? You're foolish. You're going to have arthritis. You're going to need a knee replacement." And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't need to defend myself. I said, "That's your story. That's not my story."
Yeah.
I'm into myself with everything that I do. I'm checking in. Is this worth going forward? Is it foolish for me to return? So I was self-referencing with all of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's crazy to think you had that amount of rehab. I think that's pretty inspiring for a lot of people in athletics in general because I know I had my own ACL. I know my fiance's gone through her rehab and stuff like that, and that is such a dark place to be in. And really, no one knows what rehab is like until you're on that road and you really find out who your friends are and who your family is because you are alone.
Yeah, and when your whole life is sport and suddenly it's taken away, it becomes an extra dark place. That's where you identify yourself. That's who your identity is. And then when that's gone, boy, oh boy, where are you?
You think that helped with like your drive and you're like, that really makes you know that you're committed and that you want to keep kind of continuing and follow your dreams and aspirations?
Ultimately, yes. I think I am such a doer, such a thinker. Get in there, work harder, work harder, work harder. Harder isn't always smarter, right? So for
Hmm.
me, one of my injuries was before the O2 games, and it was April Fool's Day of '01, and so going into 2002, I was totally a dark horse. There was no way I was going to make it. It was a finish area accident. I had 6 weeks on crutches there, and I had to be back on snow in the summer. It's a year-long recovery, right? I had
Hmm.
7 months to do it and stand on the podium but for me, for my type of personality, in hindsight, I look back at it and say that was good because I would have worked so hard and tripped myself up and just over focused, where with the injury, I had to lift my head and go, okay, what can I do? Much like the times we're in now, right? What can I do? I'm back to the drawing board,
Hmm.
left foot, right foot, and reinventing and just bettering myself as an athlete, training smarter, just getting back to walking without crutches, really.
So what was that experience like? Not only the vindication and kind of coming back that quickly, getting the results you need, and then you're in your first Olympics, 2002, and it's also on home soil.
What was that like?
Yeah.
Well, I've been asked, was it worth it? I mean, at that point, I'd been through 3 or 4 surgeries. Was it worth it to stand up there and to look out and see the crowd, see my family, see my friends? I can say to that, absolutely, it was. Yeah, all the pain, all the tears, all the who am I's. But that which I'm speaking about in sport comes to us in life, whether we want it or not. I think sometimes sport is just a fast track to it. You, number one, know yourself, right? And
Mhm.
when you're a judge sport, a subjective sport, you are constantly being told you are not good enough, still not good enough. Next, next, next. The next person's coming up. They're better. They're better. So you're continually having to prove it to yourself, maybe to the coaches, to the judges, to the whole thing. You're always on those marbles, if you will.
Yeah. So after that, I mean, you really start a pretty big upward trajectory in your career because you start to become very consistent. Not that you weren't before, but you probably dealt with more injuries and stuff like that. You're always coming back. Because I remember, like from 2003 to 2006, you were back-to-back U.S. national champion, and then you ski in your next Olympics. You're like consistently top 6, 7, 8 in the world.
Hmm. Yes. Um, I think I was just at that point, I was just trying to enjoy it, just trying to drink it all in. Where those first years, had become a job. And those years after '03, I just put the smile on. I tried to see other sites and tried to enjoy the whole process.
So do you think that helps being able to enjoy the process, but also be very regimented because you're extremely dedicated, you're incredible hard worker. So how would you say there is that fine line to walk? Because for some people, they probably really don't work that hard and they don't have that kind of work ethic. So was it for you, you're like always chomping at the bit, so you got to kind of pull yourself back a little bit and just enjoy?
Yeah, for me, I definitely have to pull back and enjoy. I have to say also in those years, what I also stepped into was a lot of personal work. So, it's the work that I do now with my clients. I'm a wellness coach. I do shamanic work. I'm always looking at what's the root cause of why we do what we do. What causes this pattern? Why was I so intense those first years? Why did I feel the need to have to continually prove myself first to me and then to the judges and so on and so forth as a reverse football as I've spoken about already. But so during those years, I'd really gone back to the drawing board. What makes me tick? Why do I make these decisions every day? Why do I get up and do it? That's easy because I love it. Not everybody loves what they do. Some people never love anything they do. That allow the people around them, right? And they're just unsettled in themselves. So I've done a lot of that work. I continue to do that work with myself, with others, but always looking in the mirror, saying, how can I be better? How can I be more?
Yeah.
Whatever more is.
So what do you think helps create a successful plan for, you know, not just athletes, but everyday people? Like what helped you kind of create your successful mindset? I mean, obviously you had that drive at an early age, but I feel like there's always more that plays out.
I think what, I don't know if any of you've heard of the Karpman triangle, but they think this is very beneficial in that the Karpman triangle is the victim triangle. And
Okay.
you're in a judged sport and you're not getting or life. Life can be judged right by the time. There's the victim, the perpetrator, and the rescuer. When you're in a judged environment, you can get stuck in the victim. Oh, well, the coaches didn't give me enough attention. My bindings weren't right, or the judges just weren't looking, right? So I had to step out of that. I had to look at where that old story, that old pattern was really tripping me, and figure out how to step out of that into the place of empowerment. Ultimately, you don't want to be anywhere on that triangle, the perpetrator, the rescuer, or the victim. And so there's so much I can say on that, and I can elaborate, but so I had to step off of that. So if you see most people interacting, you just sit on a bench, and even now watch. People are in full on right now. I don't want to get into too much of this, but people are reeling and they're in fear, and it's almost like they're hopeless, helpless. That's that place of victim. You have to step out of that to become empowered again, and you can be informed, but not stuck in that fear.
Okay.
That place of being done unto, or there is absolutely I have no control, right? That free fall is pretty frightening.
Yeah.
But you're well informed. You're not going to walk into a dark alley and right at night. You're just going to go informed, and you're going to just bob and weave.
So what's the name of that again? I want to write that down.
The Karpman triangle.
Karpman triangle. Okay.
Or victim triangle.
Awesome. Now, so after 2005, then you go in your second Olympics in 2006, and you really are at the forefront. You're one of the first people to kind of be doing new tricks and what is it? Cork 7, so off axis 720 for those of you that don't know in the sport. No women are really competing that. You're probably one of 2 or 3. I think you were probably the first one to do a cork 7, right? Not D-spin, which is more like inverted off axis. So, and I remember it was Rick Shaner was kind of helping you. I remember at the water ramps when you were working on that.
So the difference between the two, as you already stated, I think with the D-spin, you could see coming out of it, the cork is like throwing a cat out the window, and you're spinning and you're coming in blind. But yes, I was the first woman to do that in the Olympics, and it wasn't until this last games that another woman did it.
Which is, it's remarkable that, you know, you were that far. I mean, that's almost 15 years ago. I mean, it's a long time ago. Yeah. It's a long time ago.
Going into it. So this might explain a little bit more about me. Here comes my pup. Hello, Mipa. Because I knew going into that games that if I stuck to the plan of the helicopter backflip, I would do much better. But I couldn't do it. If I knowing myself, checking in with myself, I couldn't. I felt ill at the thought of doing that. I was compromising my very core. So I stuck to that plan. The first run, I didn't do it. The second run, I did. But that was my plan to do all along. And so for me, that was success.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's helped, progress the sport, because now, you have a lot more women that are kind of out doing that. And not only, I think it inspired a lot of guys as well, because there's not like a lot of that kind of, you know, they had just started to do that for a couple of years. It was what, 2004, and then right after that it was you, Kari Tra, Margarita Marbler maybe, that was kind of throwing some of those off-axis maneuvers.
Right. Yeah, Kari did the bead. It's been in 2006. Well, and thank you for saying that, because as you look back, unless you won a medal, you wonder, do people recognize that? And not that they need to, but you hope. My hope was to make a difference.
Yeah, and that's
how I lived my life.
I remember. And also as well, if people, I know that video is up on YouTube, so if you YouTube Jillian Vogtli, like 2006 Olympics, it's a pretty sweet cork 7 on the bottom area. So nicely done. Way to represent the USA.
Judges didn't know what to do with it. Wait a minute.
So next Olympics, you finished 2006. And where do you want to keep going for another cycle, or?
I did stick around till 2010.
2010 was your last.
More injuries, and then I didn't, when I didn't make 010, I was done.
That's a lot of longevity, especially for the sport of mogul skiing. For those that don't know, they usually do not last that that long of a time. So that I think also speaks to your hard work and dedication.
Thank you. But every year I would ask myself, does this still feed your soul? Because that's really the place that I come from. And I knew the last time I stood in the gate, I remember looking over at Sylvia Kerfoot from Team Canada, and I looked at her and I had tears in my eyes because I knew that was it. And she was there at my first event and she was there at my last, so it had come full circle. And then I looked around at the other competitors and I was done. And it was good.
Yeah.
Of course, there's sadness because I have such a love of the sport, but my life was about to change.
And change is always, it's a little scary, but it's good, right?
Good, yeah. Which brings us to retirement can be one of the hardest things. That's where a lot of people fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And did it take you a little bit to kind of figure out your path and where you wanted to go? Or were you, yeah, it did.
It did. I think so I was going from traveling maybe 300 days a year. Some of it was personal. I was on, sorry.
No.
My phone. Traveling 300 days a year to what?
Yeah.
So what do you mean I have to stay home and I have to actually get into a routine? I don't know if I want a routine.
Yeah.
And so it was that rebuilding of self. I spoke to Chris Waddell. For those of you that don't know, he has been to what? How many? Do you know Chris Waddell?
Yeah.
He's summer, winter Paralympian, and he's one of the most decorated athletes ever. How many medals does he have? I always joke with him and say he has 25, but it might be 13.
Crazy. Yeah.
So he lost the use of his legs, and I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this. He lost the use of his legs when he was 19 years old, and he said it was harder to retire from sport because of that identity change. And so you just have to go back. You have to take your intensity somewhere else, right? That pure drive, and put it into something else. And so that can leave you in a bit of a free fall.
Mm-hmm. So where did you kind of find your footing?
I think for me, I like to be there for others, and with the work that I do, I immediately went into coaching, which was nice. For me, I was complete. Of course, I didn't have my Olympic medal, but I was complete in myself, and I feel like I lived life with such passion. I was then able to give it to the athletes. You know, when I wasn't coaching, I could take it elsewhere. And now my coaching has become the wellness coaching, which is looking at the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, all aspects of the pie of the individual, and helping people to identify their patterns and look at where there might be imbalances, and bringing them to the best version of themselves, or the best that they dare to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what helped me. But it took me a year or two because I had my son in 2011, and so that was totally different. No longer anything about me, it was all about him. And so,
of course,
yeah, a couple of years of repenting.
Was that a big goal, like, as well? Is that something, you know, you always wanted to have kids and stuff like that?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad that you were able to get away from him for a little bit to at least like shoot this. You know. Yeah, of course, I appreciate it. Now, also, I see that bike back there. So not to like go back a little bit, but you were a pretty successful cyclist as well, right?
Well, I had hoped to be in, yes, that was my plan was in '02, I was being interviewed in the Finnish area, and the interviewer asked me, now what? And I said, Athens, Greece, 2004. And my mom was standing over my shoulder. She goes, what? And I said, I don't know, it just came out. And so I went, and I tried out with Team USA Cycling for track, for the velodrome. And you either have it or you don't. They test a variety of skills, and I made the US team. And so I was competing in the track sprint race. Oh my gosh. But for me, I needed to go against the clock. I'd been judged for so many years. I just needed the clock. And it was wonderful. And I actually called up my coach at the time, Donnie St. Pierre, and I said, give my spot away, I'm done. And he goes, you're right. And until that fall, I called him and I said, okay, I'm coming back. And he said, I knew you were back, Vogtli. I knew you weren't done. So, but it was really great. So I pursued that until I couldn't pursue it anymore, when I was for sure not in the running for Athens. I was, and I came back to my true love.
Now, how much of a different transition is that? I mean, did that help in your training for what? I mean, because it's all against the clock, and that's.
It wasn't just that; it was the body type. So with sprinters, you're basically a bodybuilder on a bike. I mean, I saw women snapping their handlebars, stripping their cranks. I mean, and my quads are probably twice the size they needed to be when I was skiing. And you know, mogul skiers have some quads, but I mean,
absolutely.
I remember trying to tie my shoelaces, and I could barely reach my shoelaces. Not because I had a gut, but my quads were so big.
Really?
Story. So I needed to lose that bulk going out of it. I just had a couple months to do it going into the season.
Wow.
Oh my God, I was strong. Different strong. And when you have that much size, I lost some of the spring.
Okay. Some of the explosiveness. Now, so where would you go to compete for that? Where does that, would you kind of travel around for that as well?
Colorado Springs, so I was there.
Okay.
And in Bexartown.
So the love for biking hasn't gone anywhere, though. You still get out a lot.
You know, I'm a mountain biker at heart.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a mountain girl.
Gotcha.
Get me away from pavement. I mean, that was just where I knew I had the most power there, and I was too big to be a mountain biker. I would have needed to lose probably 30 pounds at the time.
Okay.
Skiing, and I just didn't do that.
Yeah, that seems like it's such a big to be able to transition like that and be able to kind of do both for a couple of years is pretty remarkable.
Well, that's why I landed on my head doing my first backflip too. That was great as a sport. So for those of you that wouldn't know, in 2002, up to 2002, it was deemed too dangerous to have your feet above your head. And then Johnny Mosley came in and did the dinner roll, and then which was what was that? That was a version of the D-spin.
Version of the. Yeah.
But he progressed the sport, and then the next year, so between 2002 and 2003, a lot of people retired because it was scary to suddenly allow your feet to go over your head, because it was no longer a question of blowing a knee. Now it was your spine. And that's pretty scary. I mean, now kids are growing up on the trampolines, on the water ramps, and they have that cellular memory going in to take it to snow a lot quicker. But
yeah, they've done such a better job too, just with like, they have back braces, mouth guards. I mean, it just used to be like a helmet. And now
coaches that have actually done the tricks. So I was there throughout the time when coaches didn't know the tricks. They'd never done them. They'd read them in a book. And that's I couldn't coach you from a book as well as I could from feeling it and experiencing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So after you retire from skiing, you kind of get in and you, what?
Rick Shaner.
Rick Shaner. Oh yeah, Shaner's the man, the myth, the legend, right? So you go in and you work with Rozzy, who was always your big sponsor, right? Always took very good care of you. Now you've been helping them back, and you kind of, it's called We Rise. Is that the name of the program?
Which is a women's movement. Yes, We Rise as a community. We rise as sisters, mothers. It's beautiful. I can pull it up and read it to you verbatim, but it's quite beautiful.
So how did that come about? How did they create that?
So that was That is a very good question. So Dina Star Rossi are sister companies. And I remember Tate Wardlaw, I skied because I was on Rossi Dina Star much of my career. Tate brought me in when I retired and he said, I want you to be at the forefront when we do for the women's product. And I said, okay, what does that look like? And it took a few years to evolve. And then Margie McCone with Rossignol and with Rossignol USA and France came together. We came together and started working on the We Rise project. And it's just, how did that come about? It comes about from, there aren't as many women in sport. And so those of us that are kind of more at the forefront want to bring others in and bring everyone together. And also, yeah, it's just people are lonely and they need community. And it's about helping each other stand up together. That's a great cause. It's about me. It's about coming in together.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's such a great cause. I've seen a bunch of it on your Instagram and stuff like that. I know you were skiing with them kind of right up until this whole kind of closure and everything kind of got shut down, right? You were up at Snow Basin skiing with
I was headed to Steamboat, but there have been 9 camps throughout the world for We Rise, so it's not just me. Kurt Fallon's doing them in Canada, and then there are some French women doing them throughout France. So it's a really beautiful thing. And so also to your question, how did it come about? I went to Margie and I said, I'm teaching these camps with you guys. Or I show up just for a demo day and I end up with these women that are in tears. And I realize that there are so many women that are so down on themselves because in truth, our society prizes the 20-year-old woman with the perfect everything. And then after that, so that they don't prize depth or anything beyond that. And then when they're 30, 40, 80, they feel like they're invisible. And so when I'm coaching these women, they're in tears and I think we're talking about a turn, but ultimately we're talking about their self-worth. And if I can make somebody feel a little bit better in themselves, whether I'm coaching 10-year-olds, I don't care how good you are at what you do, or I'm coaching a 70-year-old or 89, if I can help you to feel a little bit better about yourself and walk out of there taller, it doesn't matter what you're doing in sport. It's how you feel as a person.
Yeah, it's such an amazing cause. It's great that you're able to help those ladies out.
Near and dear to my heart. Thank you.
So was this the first year that they have done that, or has this kind of been around for a couple of years?
This was the year that Rossignol introduced it.
Okay, so this winter season was the first year that they've had it. And are they pretty happy with how everything's gone so far?
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So there'll be more.
There will be more.
Perfect. That's a good thing. More inspiring. Now, also, you've been doing a little bit of jewelry making as well, right?
Yes, I'm a big fan of Sundance jewelry, and I would admire it for years. And then I started making jewelry in 2004, and that's something that's a side business. And it's really, I don't sit still very well. Might surprise you with all this, but it's my meditation. It allows me to sit and focus. And I love it. A dear teacher and mentor of mine, she said, Jillian, you don't just build jewelry, you build goddesses. You help to get, so I like to build pieces that have meaning. Somebody can put them on, and again, when you see the theme, they feel a little bit better about themselves.
Very cool. Excellent. So when you're talking to these women, you're talking about trying to work on their turn and different things like that, what's always kind of your main breakdown of trying to create, whether you're trying to build somebody up or you're trying to talk about success or drive? What do you think some of those keys are?
I think it's whatever's going on in our lives shows up in anything that we do, right? So with the women, it's at Snow Basin, for example, we'd start each day with a stretch and we're talking, and I'm trying to bring them to the place of moving through their day consciously rather than subconsciously. And so I hit them pretty hard with one that I would challenge you all to do, but to identify the 3 biggest lies that you tell yourself, right?
Okay, yeah, no, I'm sure that
so the big thing, and continually addressing that, not to flog ourselves, but to bring these shadow pieces, if you will, to light, to the forefront, so that then we can go, oh, isn't that interesting? Rather than handling it and going, oh, of course I think that. That's so stupid. Of course I'm going to think that. Instead, handle yourself with kids' gloves. Just bring it to the forefront so you can go, oh, I keep telling myself, 1, I'm not good enough. Ooh, that really hits me in the gut. Oh, okay, let me just sit with it. Let me just hold it. Where did I learn that? And peeling back that onion. So starting there.
Peeling back so 3 biggest lies, kind of bringing that out and acknowledging them, and so that just kind of peels away some of the layers.
Well, yeah, that's one step. So, and then we end up on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So addressing those areas, and there's so much more. I mean, that's just, I'm just trying to, so many people are walking asleep, and it's just that little tap to say, wake up, be conscious, maybe you've heard this, brush your teeth with your other hand, right?
Yeah.
Drive a different way, just mix things up so that you're conscious and not just sleeping through what you're doing.
Yeah. I think that happens with a lot of different people that just seem to feel like they're going through the motions, whether they're in their training or work or just like life. They're not actually being in the moment, being conscious in that. So I think that's definitely a great takeaway for people to really try to be cognizant of being in the moment and being present.
Grocery store, look the cashier in the eye. You know, I'll tell you, the other day I was at the grocery store at Smith's, and I walked up to the shelf, the stalker, and I said, "Excuse me," and he looked at me ready to get hit with something, and I said, "I just wanted to say thank you." And he goes, and I said, "I know you're working long hours, thank you." And he went, "You're welcome." And so it's just being aware, be conscious of others and
Yeah.
where they're at. And
I think that's quite profound, especially with everything that's going on right now. I mean, I feel like that's a good, certainly a good takeaway with even, saying thank you, things like that. Just make sure you're 6 feet away.
yes, exactly. And definitely.
Now, so you're also do some fitness instructing as well, right? Or is that all kind of included with your wellness that you do?
All under the same umbrella, but most people understand the physical the best. Yeah, and so with the personal training, the physical end of things, I'm looking at, so what I've pulled from are all the backgrounds of everything I've done, right? All my training, all my studies, and pulled it into my own version of. And I'm looking at, I spent all those years in the gym throwing around all those weights, and now I'm probably lifting 5 and 10 pound weights, maybe kettlebells that are heavier, but I'm just looking at longevity of the body. And because of all of my injuries, I feel like, so I'm throwing on that physical therapy aspect too, where the body is, where I'm really focused on proper form and making sure as you're looking forward to your 100th birthday, you still have that movement.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot going on with that right now with longevity and everything else.
Living longer, and most people end up in homes because they lose their balance. They don't have that proprioceptive awareness or strength, and so that lateral movement, they just don't have it. And I can't say most, that's not fair. A lot of times what's focused on are those main muscle groups. So quads, glutes, hamstrings, core, and there's so much more to us. We don't load the dishwasher like this, right?
Yeah.
So we need to have that mobility, that range, functionality of movement.
Very cool.
If I slip, I know that from skiing, we learn a lot of that fore aft. If we slip as we're walking on ice, we know what to do. We pull our feet back under. Most people go stiff, whether I'm skiing or anything, or walking on ice, and they're down like that, and then they're on their hip or they hit their heads, or we want to avoid all of that.
So a lot of the is your programming, will it be fairly short? Is it like 3 days a week that you'll do, or is it like daily things that you'll kind of build in, or how does that work?
Depends on the needs of the individual. So I've worked with individuals trying to make national teams for a variety of sports, fencing even, right? Of course, but then I worked with a lot of individuals who have had hips, knees, all of this and shoulders replaced, right? So I'm running the gamut with the individual. So it depends on what they need and how I build the program. I don't have a one size fits all.
That's pretty nice.
I'm not really looking at, of course, aesthetics is always nice, but I want people to have that feeling, their joints feeling good.
Yeah, I feel like that gets pretty often overlooked. A lot of people are definitely concerned about the aesthetics, right?
What are you going to do with any of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to chat with me.
Thanks.
And there's a few things people can obviously see you on Rosignol, their Instagram, social media there. You have your own, right? What is that?
Jillian V underscore.
Jillian B underscore. Perfect. And then also a place they can find some of your wellness stuff.
As I was telling Bobby this morning, I just realized my my website is down, but that will come back up, and maybe I could just say, I'll contact you, Bobby, and we can link it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
.com, but we'll see if it comes back as that. Everything's evolving and changing in these times, right? And so,
Yeah, absolutely.
but my what I'll be doing from here with my Instagram page, with my YouTube channel, and with my website is I'm going to be bringing in components of what we can work on for all aspects of growth, right? Looking at the mental, emotional, physical, and the spiritual again, in ways that people are in need of tools. There's a lot of freaking out going on, and so sharing those tools to help them get to that place of calm and in a non-reactionary way, being able to walk with awareness.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jillian. And what's the YouTube channel?
Jillian Vogtli.
Jillian Vogtli.
Vogtli.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Jillian. I really appreciate it. All right. Bye, everybody.